It all starts with a very simple question. Do you believe that God or a higher power exists? And what we find is that more than 70% do say that they either definitely do believe in God or a higher power, or they think that God or a higher power exists. We take a pretty deep dive, and what we find is that, 4 major groups or segments come out. You've got the non-believers. Pretty obvious. They don't believe. You've got the spiritually uncertain, who are an interesting bunch because they answer questions very similarly to non-believers on a number of fronts, but they like to leave just a little sliver of existence on the questions of belief. They like the idea of being able to hedge, perhaps end of life, or perhaps that just in case. So when heaven forbid, in the moment of an earthquake or the idea of a piano dropping on your head, that's the moment those spiritually uncertain certainly become more certain. The privately faithful, very much believers in God and a higher power, much more likely to answer questions in the same way that the religiously committed answer. However, the thing that sets apart the privately faithful, who make up about 1/4 of our population, and the religiously committed, which is a solid 1/5 of the population, really has to do with participation and involvement in their faith communities. The privately faithful are privately faithful. They pray at home. Maybe they pray in the car on the way to work. They have very strong sense of belief, and they have a strong sense of values around their beliefs. The religiously committed, however, are the ones who are showing up, and they're showing up always and often and in a big way, and those who are the folks who make up our religiously committed. On the issue of their own professed personal happiness, the religiously committed are notably more likely to say that they themselves are either very or extremely happy in their lives overall. You get about 1/3 to a plurality, 2/5 in the other group saying that they are quite happy. It's nearly half among the religiously committed. It also colors their outlooks on putting others first versus putting self first. Again, you see some big differences between what non-believers and the spiritually uncertain are likely to think about what we should be more focused on in our lives, either achieving our own happiness and dreams or being concerned about helping others. The religiously committed very much committed to saying we should be focused on helping others. And then you have, again, a difference in their view around level of community involvement. Now, when we set out to ask these questions, we are very cognizant of the fact that you don't want to produce a questionnaire or a survey that is almost finger-wagging in tone. We recognize that Canadians are very busy people. They're busy working. They're busy raising their kids. They're busy doing other things. But the religiously committed tend to also be quite busy participating and getting involved in community groups and activities. They also tend to be more likely to say that they volunteer for a community organization or a nonprofit organization. Often that is actually their church or their organization of worship. And we also see that they are more likely to have a very distinct and pointed point of view on how the rich should be spending their money. When we put that question to people, should the rich be spending it on enjoying their own lives? Hey, you earned it, spend it however you want. You see Canadians are a little bit split on that matter. A lot less doubt, far less equivocal answer among the religiously committed who say, heck no, rich folks, you have a responsibility to share your wealth with those who are less fortunate. And they walk their talk from this perspective. The religiously committed also more likely to self-identify as either regularly giving to charity or at least giving to a favorite charity once or twice a year, relative to some of those other groups who are more likely to say, once or twice a year, but not necessarily whenever I can, whenever I have that ability to. When you look at, again, a renaissance or a rejuvenation in terms of religious participation in this country, it is not necessarily happening at the United Church. It is not necessarily happening at the synagogue. Where is it happening? It's happening at the masjid, where census is showing that Muslim Canadians tend to be younger in this country and participating in religion more. It's happening at the Gurdwara among the Sikh community. It's happening at the temples among the Hindu community. And it is happening in Catholic churches, where Catholic churches are seeing congregations increasingly from South America and the Philippines. So immigration really driving a bit of a rejuvenation into the spiritual world.